Hey, welcome to episode number 40 of the Langille Show. My name's Brian Langille, and no, I'm not sunburned. I'm always this orange. I just usually run color correction so that it, figures it out in post-production. Actually, wow, am I burnt. I laid out in the sun today. Figured, I was laying in the pool and figured, I would just, soak up the rays. I didn't really realize that by soaking them up, I would actually look this orange. So this is episode number 40. People have been wondering where this one's going to come up at, where it's going to be, what I'm going to talk about, and it's the Festival of Lights. I love it when planes fly by in the middle of my show. And now the wind's blowing. That's awesome. Anyway, Festival of Lights was last weekend, and I gotta tell you, I had an amazing time. I would love to run footage of some of the events. I'd love to show photos, but they had a rule where you couldn't take cameras in, and therefore, no camera equals no show. I'm sorry, it's not my choice. Whoa, man, I don't really trust the laptop on top of the barbecue, for those of you who are keeping score at home. So right now, it's win 2, Brian's confidence 0. Yeah, like I was saying, Festival of Lights didn't allow cameras. So I got a bit of a question on this one because I don't understand the logic. Sure, people are going to say that, the bands that are playing own the rights to their images, blah, 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 their likeness. I get that. I'm all about the copyright stuff because I don't want people stealing my shit either, right? Anyway, but, if you're going to ban cameras from... Okay, that's 3. If you're going to ban cameras, you might want to ban camera phones as well, because anyone who walked in and couldn't take their camera with them, they just whipped out their cell phone and went, got all the pictures and all the video they wanted. So I really think that it was pointless to try to ban cameras. Yes, it looks good on paper, but, you can't do it unless, you're going to do it across the board, and they didn't ban camera phones, so, I don't see the point. Now, a friend of mine said the reason they didn't ban camera phones and didn't ban phones was because Alliant was in charge of it. And you don't really want someone like Alliant Mobility sponsoring an event. Whoa! Okay, we're gonna move this camera. Just give me 1 second to readjust, folks. Phenomena. Yeah, sorry about that. I don't even know where I was. Something to do with Alliant Mobility and their phones. You don't really want to sponsor an event and then, pull the product that you're trying to promote at said event. So I guess I can see why they didn't ban the camera phones. But if you're not going to ban them, then you can't ban cameras. I mean, if you do a search on YouTube, I'm sure there's a lot of video where people went with their cell phone, and if you look on Facebook, there are people that got cameras in there. So the Festival of Lights was awesome. I absolutely loved it. The Tragically Hip were the main event for me. I thought they were amazing. Gord Downey is an amazing showman. He had the crowd in the palm of his hand the entire time. So I'm really glad that I actually skipped the RAM from my MacBook Pro and bought the tickets, because, to see the Hip live in Charlottetown, I was like 25, 30 feet away from the stage. For the Hip, and it was an absolutely amazing event. I was singing along with all the songs. I was in my element. You know that I really loved the Hip, and to see them live was awesome. So in day 1, I was in the VIP section, not because I'm actually a VIP, because I don't think my show's reached that status yet, but I ended up with a VIP ticket. So I'm standing there in the VIP section, and I see this girl in front of me while we're watching the concert, and I kind of recognize her. And she turns around, we make eye contact, or at least eye contact through sunglasses. And she looks at me like this, and she goes, take your glasses off. So I take my glasses off. She goes, oh my God, it's the Brian Langille Show. Whoa, okay. It was Heather, and I used to work with Heather at Advantage, so it was awesome to see her again. Cool. It was kind of weird being recognized as the guy from the Brian Langille Show as opposed to, Brian Langille, the guy I used to work with. But, it was awesome. We hung out. They're passing around the candy bar, and that's right, I said candy bar. It wasn't candy bar. It was literally an arrow bar, which I have never seen. I've seen people pass bottles around. I've seen people, you know, pass joints around. I've never seen anyone pass a chocolate bar around. But apparently, if you have friends in Cadbury and they can give you whatever you want, that's how you pull that one off. So I got to tell you, out of all the acts that I saw, I was least impressed with Hinder. And I know what you're going to be saying, you know, like Hinder was one of the main acts, Brian. How could you not, you know, enjoy that? And I don't know. I think Lips of an Angel is a great song. I love that song, but just hearing it on the radio with your MP3 player, your iPod, whatever it is one thing. Seeing them live, you'd think would enhance the experience. Not so much. I wasn't really into the show, and at one point, because he asked after every song, "How's everybody doing? Thank you very much," etc., etc. It almost seemed like he was lacking some sort of self-confidence thing because he needed the reassurance of the crowd before he continued with every song. So by the seventh or eighth time that he did this, you know, he goes, "How's everybody doing?" And some people in the front row apparently gave him the finger, so he got really mad and said, you know, "If you don't fucking like me, you can go home." Direct quote. That's not me trying to be cool. And, you know, I took that as my cue. I was like, all right, he said so. So I packed up and I left. So I didn't hear him sing Lips of an Angel, and I'm not overly disappointed that I missed it, you know. So, yeah, Hinder for me wasn't really that good of a show. No, sir, I didn't like it. So at the end of the third night, you know, the Hip are leaving the stage. The crowd's going nuts. They're going hip, 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 and they're just, you know, chanting them on, despite the fact their encore is over and they're leaving. And I realize, okay, the show is done, right? And I look behind me, and there's friends of mine in the VIP section. Now they're about maybe from me to the camera away. Okay, so they're further than that, but for the sake of this argument, we're just going to say from here to the camera. And I'm talking to them, and I'm kind of talking a little loud so that they can hear me. And the security guard comes up, and she's like, "Excuse me, sir, can I ask you a question?" And I'm like, "Sure." She's like, "Imagine how much trouble you get in if I turn my back and you jump the railing." And then she just puts her hands behind her back, and she casually walks away. And I'm like, okay. So I take her advice. I jump the railing, and I'm standing there talking to my friend. And she comes back up, and she goes, "Excuse me again, sir." And I was like, oh, shit. You're either going to have to jump the second railing to get over where your friends are, or I'm going to have to ask you to walk the whole way around. Now, the whole way around, I would say, would take about 25 minutes to get through the crowd and everything else. So I thought it was pretty funny of that. What I didn't find funny is that when I tried to jump the railing the first time, I realized that I'm not as limber as I was when I was in high school, or junior high, or elementary school, or an infant. And when I jumped the railing, I kind of pilled myself. So wasn't a fan of that. So I'm kind of standing there trying to, you know, recollect myself when she comes up the second time and tells me to jump the second railing. So I decided at that point I'm just going to take that one easy. So I climbed up over the second one and saved myself about a half an hour walking. And that's not including the fact that I felt like my nuts were in my throat. But, you know, I went back and I thanked her. And, she, you know, I said, "Happy Canada Day. Thanks for everything." And I just said jokingly, I said, "So where was that offer 2.5 hours ago?" And she said, "You didn't ask." Now, I'm sure she's joking and all, but it still would have been cool. It's not one of those things I would have tried because I'm not one to be the rebel and break all the rules, right? Right? So I'm going to wrap this one up. My name is Brian Langille. This has been episode number 40 of The Langille Show. And just between you, me, and the hundreds of people watching this episode, I want to say thank you to everybody who tunes in and watches these episodes. I didn't call it. I didn't expect it. So thank you to every one of you guys for watching. You're the ones that make this show continue. And, you know, I appreciate all the support. It means the world to me. But unfortunately, I can't stay here and kiss everyone's ass all night because YouTube tells me I only have 10 minutes. You can check out The Langille Show at youtube.com and thelangilleshow.com. You can check out the Facebook group, the fan group dedicated to The Langille Show, which I thank Ryan for setting up, by the way. Thank you for that one. At facebook.com and do a search for The Langille Show. Feel free to sign up. There's some discussion boards going on there. People are leaving comments. You know, if you want to be in on it, join the group. You can also follow me on Twitter at twitter.com/Langille and twitter.com/The Langille Show. Until next time, which will probably be after the Noxzema wears in, my face kind of comes back to normal. We'll be back with episode number 41, and the Express will keep on rolling. Take care.